Hey, welcome back to Open Air 24/7. Like always, keeping it real and open. In today's video, we have a very special guest. She's an aerospace maintenance technical engineer, and today she's going to be talking about her life and how she got into this career field and what it's like to be a female in it. If you have any questions, just make sure you put them down in the comments. I'll get those questions to her and I'll get those answers right back to you. But if you do not mind, please make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're new. Make sure you like this video so it gets in the algorithm so a lot of people can enjoy it. And also share this video and hit that bell for future notifications. Yo, what's going on, Abracadabra?
Hello. I'm sorry, I'm outside.
You are A-OK. You are A-OK. So everybody, this is Abracadabra. She is
Hello, everybody.
AMTE,
Yes, sir.
Aerospace Maintenance Technical Engineer. And also she's 6'1", so she could whoop my butt. Any questions to me before we begin?
How do I look?
You look popping. So this is Bedtime Stories with E and J. This is episode 5, the life of an aerospace maintenance technical engineer. And with us, we have Abracadabra. So Abracadabra, can you tell us about your childhood and what it was like growing up?
Growing up in New York, it was rough, but I made it out and it was all good.
So what'd you do in high school? What were your dreams and ambitions?
Just to graduate.
Just graduate? Did you
Yes,
have
just to
any idea
graduate.
that you wanted to get into this field when you were in high school?
Not at all. Not a clue.
Not a
Not
clue?
a clue. Not a clue.
What kind of pushed you into it?
I got tired of working on cars.
Okay, so you got a mechanical background in cars. Okay.
Yeah, automotive service excellence master technician. So I got
Okay.
fix cars.
How long did you do that?
About 10, 12 years.
Okay. And you did it right after high school?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Okay. And what made you want to do the switch? You just kind of got tired of working on the cars, wanted to make more money, or you wanted to get more skills under your belt?
It was a challenge. It was a challenge for one of my customers working on his truck, and his cousin was an airplane mechanic, and he was bragging, talking all this and all that. So I bet you can't do it. I bet you can't do it. So I did it.
Oh, so you had a couple haters, a couple naysayers that motivated you, put that fire under your butt to do something. Were you scared at first?
Yes. No,
You were scared?
No, I wasn't really scared. I was like, well, I wonder how hard it's going to be, but it wasn't that hard because I had the automotive background, so it was pretty easy.
Yeah. Okay. So if you had to explain your job in a couple sentences, to a paragraph, how would you describe it? Like the current job you have right now.
I'm on vacation right now, but working in aircraft maintenance, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. You feel like you accomplish something. Like, I'll give you an example. So you're in the shop, right, with other mechanics, and there's a radio guy at the tower, at the top of the tower at the airport, and he dispatches the list of who goes up next, whoever's in the shop. So it could go like this. This is Dave Wagner for TK, and I would be like, go for TK, and they would say, like, we have aircraft 746 at gate Charlie 42 with the gear disagree. Out time is 35 minutes. So you got to get all your references together, pull up the history, go out to the plane, assess the issue, either defer it, fix it, or send it to the hangar and get another plane over there so the plane can fly, so the flight can go to where it needs to go.
So you have to have a really good memory, and you have to have a really good sense of awareness to do your job.
Well, not memory. You have to know where to go to look for the aircraft history and maintenance, know how to pull up the right references that applies to the discrepancy you're fixing, and go out there and fix it.
When you first started, was that kind of like, were you nervous about that? Like having to speak on a radio?
No, I was nervous more of the fact of the people on the plane with a boarded plane, people staring at you and stuff. That was a little nervous, but after the first couple of flights, it was cake. Because I spent the first 9 months in a hangar, and I was like, this is boring. Anybody who can read and write can do this work in the hangar. It's like grunt work, just schedule, maintenance, A checks, C checks, D checks, basic repetitive stuff. And I was like, this is not challenging. So I started working overtime and going to the flight line on overnights. And I learned more. So I was able to get my engine run, CAT 2 RVSM, aircraft movement area, RII, maintenance response team, engine run, gate run, power runs, and I got all my qualifications faster at the line.
And although she sounds humble, this stuff is probably not as easy as she is making it seem right now, because she's, been in the field for so long, and she's got that experience under her belt where she feels the same way I felt about trucking now. Like, I can do it. But, it's one of them things, especially radio etiquette, just being able to have that, not being nervous about that. That's awesome. So being able to talk, that's one of them things that I'm not really good at most of the time. So I applaud you on that, not being what you were nervous about.
If you've never been on a radio at an airport, it's hectic. So you have to be able to listen, write shorthand, and repeat stuff back, because you don't want to get occurrence at the airport on the runway and taxiways where they shine a light and you get a big fine. So you have to be aware. It goes something like this. This is tuned your radio on the FMS, the flight management computer, to whoever you want to talk to. You want to talk to the ground first, because you want to move from the ground. From the ground, they transfer you to the tower, and so on and so forth. So it pretty much goes, this is AC maintenance, which means aircraft maintenance, 742. That's the aircraft number. At ExpressJet hangar, request permission to go to the south run pad for power assurance maintenance checks. And then you click off. And then they respond back, okay, aircraft maintenance 742, taxi down, taxiway Charlie 52, hold short of runway 26 left, and wait there. And then you have to repeat that back to them. And when you get to runway 26 left, they give you the clearance if the airplane's passing by, whatever, to go forward to where you need to go. So you have to be very comfortable.
You have to have a mental capacity for that kind of thing. That thing, it's not something that's like natural to a lot of people, being able to do that. So that's definitely a skill right there. Did you do anything to work on that, like to be able to, speak confidently, fluently, without making minimal?
I had to learn how to slow down, because I talk really fast. So I had to learn how to slow down and talk slowly. So yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah. But
what are three things you would say a person needs to be successful in their career right now?
Gotta have tough skin. For me, it was a little bit harder because I was a woman. In my class of 25 people, I was the only female. And it was almost, I had to like work twice as hard just to prove myself, because a lot of females who were got a prettier face than me or had a nicer body than me use that to their advantage, wink at the guy. Oh, can you get that for me? Can you do that? And a lot of guys would do their work, but I wasn't one of them girls. You know what I'm saying? So I had to work twice as hard. And when it came down for my first 6 months to be in the engine run class to proceed further in my career, I got the runaround. And I'm like, oh, you don't have enough experience. So I proved myself harder, working overtime, going to the line. And I told the base manager, I was like, look, either you put me in this class or I'm going to go above your head. So I got into the engine run class, and I was the only one who got my engine run qualification out of all them dudes. The only one.
Huge achievement, milestone. So having thick skin, that's one of them. What's another two?
You gotta learn to be patient, understanding, because not everybody's gonna work like you and be like you. A lot of people approach tasks in different ways than you might approach a task, So just take your time. If you're unsure about something, ask.
Patience is key. I agree. That's a no-brainer for me. Patience. So what's one more thing that you have to do your profession?
You have to do 1,900 hours of, you have to go to class for 1,900 hours, which is about a year and a half if you do an accelerated course, 4 years if you do a regular. You have to take 3 exit exams, 3 writtens, and then the orals and practicals.
Okay. So besides, favoritism due to appearances, what's one downside to your career that people don't know about?
Oh, you're not going to be making a lot of money when you first start off. You probably be making like $16 an hour. But after your first year, you get like $2 and then $3. And the more qualifications you have, the more money you get. So if you have RII, which is a required inspection authorization, Cat 2 RVSM, which is reduced vertical speed minimum, avionics, trainer, you all get more. So when you could top out probably like $28, $32 an hour. So
okay. And about how many years is that into the field where you top out?
Some are 6 years, some are 8 years, some are 10 years, some are 15. It depends on the company you work for. Okay. My company was 10 years. But then it went out of business. But the company I transferred to, because it was owned by SkyWest, they the top out, the seniority stayed the same. So I left this company at 8 years and went right over to Endeavor, another company, and I didn't have to start my seniority all over again. So I topped out within 3
So it
years.
transferred over. That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's really awesome that they did that for you.
I say the funnest part for me was the road trips, man. The road trips are awesome because it's like you and another mechanic and the pilot and the co-pilot meet at the hangar or meet on the flight line. You get on the plane, you fly somewhere, you fix that shit, and you fly the plane back with a ferry flight permit or whatever. And you just, it's like, yeah, I fixed that shit. Now we're flying it back to Atlanta so people can get on the plane and go where they need to go.
So you're like me in a crazy way, right? You like instant gratification, like whatever you're doing, you want to see the results instantly. So you get to see that in your field. You get to fix something and drive it back, which probably feels way better than,
I mean,
how is it when you're on an airplane that you haven't worked on? Does it make you nervous?
I was a little nervous at first, but at the same time, the people you work with, you got to learn to trust them, and you're all there to do a job, right? So you have to just give it the faith and let it go, because you know what? The people who working on the planes, they don't want to hurt anybody because they got families too. So it could be anything from like a plane coming into the flight line that got a tire pressure's low or whatever. You go out there, you change the tire, and then the plane, you sign it off, the paperwork, and then the plane flies. Like, yeah, I changed that tire, now it's going on the flight. Because delays cost money, and the people up top get real nervous when planes are approaching the time it's supposed to take off. Because delay, it's a fine. It's not a fine. It's just like it costs money to be at the gate. So if you can't fix it in a certain amount of time, you got to get on the phone with maintenance control and get them to send another plane over or transfer the people to another gate. If they need the gate, like if you're at a plane and you're working something, you can't fix it and it doesn't have a flight for like 2 hours. Normally, maintenance control will pull the plane off the gate so that another plane can take a spot to make money. And either you follow the plane to the hangar and work it there, or you give it to the hangar for the hangar to work.
Okay.
But there's something called a minimum equipment list where some things can be broke on the plane and the plane can still fly. Like tray tables, PSEU, which is the passenger service overhead, the gaspers and stuff, that can be broke, the lights can be broke, and the plane can still fly. Okay. So if you ever go on a plane and you see a sign that says, please do not occupy seat or tray table broken, that doesn't affect flight, and that's called a MEL, a minimum equipment list, and you just put it on paper, and it could be good for 30, 60, 90, or 120 days.
Okay. There's so many airplanes in the world. Like you're probably never out of a job or out of you never go into work and have nothing to do, right?
Right. There's always something to do. And like, you can have anything from like re-inspections, which could be like a lightning strike that sheet metal works and checks the rivets and stuff. And you have to go out there and perform a re-inspection and write it in the logbook saying I checked these rivets and I checked the seep rate on the fuel leak or whatever it may be. And sometimes if you have like a deferred APU, which is the auxiliary power unit, that's what you use to start the plane, because you can't start the engines at the gate. You have to wait for the plane to push back. But if you don't have an APU running, which controls the air conditioner and stuff, so when you get on the plane, it's cool or warm, depending on where you live at. And if it's deferred, you have to fly with that plane the whole day, because every time the plane stops, you wait 30 minutes to check the oil and stuff like that. So it's a lot of fun. Oh, wow. Nobody wants to do that on a 200 aircraft because it's a smaller plane and it's hot back there. But on a 709, it's outside the plane and you get a ladder and you climb up there and open the access panel. No plane has ever crashed that I've worked on.
Yeah, I was about to
Somebody
say.
asked. It's a lot of redundancy with airplane because you don't really need both engines to fly, and it's a lot of redundancy. Like a lot of stuff is just there just for to be there.
Yeah. So when everything's said and done, and you decide to walk away from what you're doing currently, what do you think you're going to get into after this? Or is this you're going to do this until you retire?
I want to do maintenance training, maintenance control, create aircraft maintenance manuals and IPCs to, if I know an easier way to do a job than the manufacturer like Bombardier in Canada, they make the CRJs. If I know a different way or easier way to go about completing a task, submit a cash request, let them look into it, let all the big wigs decide or whatever, because sometimes you may get an AMM and it's like, it's 25 steps, right? And you're like, well, damn, Step 7, 8, and 9, I don't really need to do, but you have to do it because it's an FAA document. Just easier ways to do things, you know, to make life easier. Because the people up there writing this stuff out, half of them never worked on planes, and the other half just got degrees, you know, on paper. So they don't know. They're just using their engineering mind when they never been in the trenches to know how, you know, you have to do a certain step in order to get this step done. So the basic thing, like changing the tire, right? So you jack the aircraft up. Well, you pull circuit breakers, of course, right in the logbook. You jack the tire up, cut the safety wire, take the center cap off. Then there's an axle nut that got 2 bolts going through it. That safety wire also, you have to take that off. And then there's a little wheel space. And a lot of people, when they take that nut off, the wheel space comes off, they don't put it on the new tire. So it causes problems and stuff like that. Just little stuff like that.
So, like, this is a personal question. Like, how long do the airplane tires last, especially the, like, you know, the ones that are bigger aircrafts?
About 4 days.
4 days, and then you have to switch them out?
3. It all depends on where it's going and what's the payload. Because when you're taking off, the plane's a lot heavier than when it lands. And then also, you have to factor in some of them pilots are ex-military pilots that like to fly the fuck out these planes, and some are not military pilots and they're more timid. So I've been on flights where I fall asleep immediately and I can't even feel the plane take off or land. Those are good pilots. And then you have the motherfuckers who want to take the plane straight up and try to get the minimum angle, AOA, which is the angle of attack, before the aircraft stalls out and just drops. So it all depends, like, you know, how much weight's on the plane, where's it going, you know. But the regional jets, probably like 4 days.
So what's the craziest story you've ever had from work?
Okay, one time, we had to do a strut repack on the, I think it was the left or right landing gear. I wasn't sure which side it was. We had to do a strut repack. So it was me and my crew and my lead, Eddie Lopez. Shout out to Elo. And so we brought the plane in the hangar. I signed out the jack pads from the tool room. I gave one jack pad for the dude, the nose, one for the dude on the left, and I was on the right side. So I screwed my jack pad in. It's just big old trailer balls on the back of trucks. They look like big old trailer balls.
Okay, yeah, got you.
The wings.
Okay.
Screwed into the wings and one under the nose. And so I go back to the tool room. It's about a 2-3 minute walk. Go get my jack, and it's huge. So you're pushing this hydraulic jack. So they're like tall as me, and you're pushing them. And the nose is seated, the left side seated, and I'm going under the wing with mine. But then the flaps and slats start coming down. So I was like, oh shit. And I'm already committed. So I couldn't do nothing but watch it. So the flap came down and the jack put a hole through that bitch. It was almost like,
oh,
how can I say it? It was like this. It was almost like, hold on. See how it comes through? It almost came through like, just like that. And that shit was loud. And one of the dudes from the other, that was at the next bay over, came over to help me move the jack. But by that time, all that hydraulic pressure, there's nothing we can do but sit back and let that shit poke a hole through the flap.
Did you get in trouble for that?
Well, I got sent home for 3 days because, like I said, it's not one thing that leads up to an incident. It's a bunch of things. So okay. I got sent home for 3 days. And, of course, if it wasn't my fault or whatever, I get paid for the time. So it's really not – I really had nothing to worry about because it wasn't like I was on my phone not paying attention. Like I had my hands on the jack. I was aware, you know. So anytime somebody turns on hydraulics, the beacon light comes on and they have to yell hydraulics. So you know. So what happened was, first of all, the plane had too much fuel in it to be in the hangar anyway because it has to be completely drained of fuel. That was on the lead. There was 2 crews working at one plane. So my lead, we were doing the strut repack, and another lead was doing the line check. And they didn't know that their crews were working on the same plane. The third thing that went wrong was the dude who cleared the flaps when he looked out the service door to clear it, he got a thumbs up from a different guy that was in a whole nother bay working a whole nother plane. So the dude that gave the okay for the right side might have been clear for the right side, but he didn't see me coming back, you know. So I got paid for the time off and came back after 3 days. I was like crying and shit because I was scared, you know. I was crying. Everybody like left me like I had the measles or some shit, like I had the flu or something, you know, like everybody just got away from me, didn't want to talk to me, didn't want to work with me. Yes, I'm in the How'd you feel about that?
How'd you feel about it when you came back? Were you nervous? Did you think people were looking at you like you didn't know what you were doing? Did you feel like you had something to prove at that point?
No, because that during roll call and everybody was briefed about what happened. It was my fault because I had my hands on it, but it wasn't my fault because I wasn't paying attention. You know what I'm saying? So it's ultimately everybody's fault. Like the lead who let the plane come in the hangar without it being defueled properly. Both leads work on one plane. The other guy who cleared it was somebody not on his crew. It was a bunch of factors leading up to that. So,
gotcha. Yeah. So how long did it take you to get into the position you're at now?
I'll say a year.
Dang, that's not bad
About
at
a
all.
year.
Would college help at all?
Well, the Navy would help, yeah. College, I don't know about college because aviation school is expensive.
Yeah.
It's expensive.
Okay. So what are some of the pros of doing your profession?
Being able to not have to go through customs coming back from the Bahamas with my pure white Hennessy. No, I'm just kidding.
Get out of here. No, is that a thing? No, just kidding. No, can't talk about it.
Yeah, we can talk about it. So
that's awesome.
27,000 a year. Yeah, when you first start off about 27,000, but when last year or the year before I was cleared 82. So, but I had a road trip to the Bahamas called an island called Eleuthera. It's a little small island in the Bahamas because there's a bunch of islands over there, right? So it was me and a dude named what's it, Alan. His name was Alan. I don't remember his last name. This was in 2017. And we had to change the EDP pump, which is called electronic dry pump for the hydraulic for the right engine. It's real easy. Couple of bolts, it comes off, whatever. So we fixed the plane, and we had to take a boat taxi to another island because the island of Eleuthera is just a local island for locals only. So there's no hotels, there's no stores, there's no Walmart, there's none of that shit over there. And then we got to take a boat taxi to the harbor island, which is the pink sand beaches. And it was just beautiful. It was beautiful, amazing. I went out with the locals that night because everybody rides scooters over there. Went to the liquor store across the street, got liquor. It was time to go. We did the ops checks and ran the plane up. Got on the plane, signed the paperwork, and took off back to Atlanta. Not even having to go through customs. Because we have security checks, but, we're crew.
That's the cool thing about the military. Like when we left for deployments, we didn't have to go through any of that TSA stuff. We got to walk, load the plane on the tarmac.
Hey, what job don't nobody want to do? That lavatory, man. Don't nobody want to do that lavatory.
That's
that
the bathroom,
blue juice shit. Yeah, that blue juice. Oh my God, that shit smells so bad. And just so you know, people, stop sticking your soda bottles and baby diapers down the damn toilet in the plane. That shit does not go anywhere. It has to be dumped every time the plane lands. So
like, is it a myth that like the airplane drops piss out of it as it's flying through the air, or no?
Yes.
It's a myth.
It's not a myth. It's not a myth. You could dump it, but the only thing pilots dump is fuel. You don't dump that shit. You know what I'm saying? Unless you way up there. But I've never heard it. Usually when it comes into the gate, the potable water truck pulls up, the waste truck pulls up, the catering pulls up. I know when you look out the window, you see all the people pulling up to the plane to work to do the services and stuff. So I went to Aviation Institute of Maintenance. Embry-Riddle's a good college, but they're expensive. But I went to AIM.
So what are some things that people don't know? Like you just enlightened us, people putting baby diapers and Coke cans down the toilet and stuff like that. What are some things you've seen that like maybe some people should be aware of? Or some things that we just don't know because we don't work on planes.
Okay, here's one thing that you don't know. I don't know if you ever flown, but when the plane takes off, you go back in your seat like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people think a plane is like driven through the air like a car. Well, that's not the case. So you have the turbo fans that sucks the air in through the front of the engine, and the compressor that compresses it down, and it lights it, and it shoots it out the back. So as the air comes out the back of the plane, it just piles up and piles up and piles up, and then it pushes the plane through the. That's why you go back in your seat. So it doesn't. When it comes in this way, it just piles up and piles up, and so much air piles up on the exhaust cone that it pushes the plane forward. Oh. So that's one thing you didn't know. And you don't steer the plane with the yoke. When I taxi him to do power assurance running and maintenance checks, when I drive the planes, there's a little tiller on the left side by the oxygen mask that you steer the plane with. And the brakes are very powerful. Very, very powerful.
Okay.
And heavy.
So do the tires have power?
The tires?
Yeah. Or is it still driven with the engines?
It's driven with the engine. The tires is more hydraulics, the brakes and stuff. I got a story behind that because I lost my fingertip in one of the breaks one time, but that's another story.
Oh
But
goodness, I
yeah,
want to hear
so
that one.
yeah, and I'm part of the line maintenance crew. So when you're at roll call, you have the supervisor assigned to crews for the night, and the line crew is always the same. You got your heavy hitters that get shit done, that have the planes ready for the flights in the morning. So I'm normally paired up with somebody that I've been paired up with for years. So I know their strength, they know my strength, or whatever. So we normally split up and do the work. Well, this particular night, this gentleman called in sick, or he had something to do. So he gave me somebody from the hangar, and it was nothing but we had like 5 planes, 2 line checks, 1 RON, which is a remain overnight. You just check the oil, sign it off, and go, and a couple of MELs. Like it could be anything from a tray table to a Gasper to a bathroom light or something small. So the first thing you want to do when you get your list is you want to go to all the planes and check the tires and brakes, because no matter what kind of workload you got, that plane ain't going nowhere if it needs tires and brakes. That's the first thing. First things first. So the plane needed, I think it was 2 tires, something small. So we split up. So I don't need any help to check tires and brakes off of a plane. It's pretty much, I'm pretty strong. But on a 200, to put it back on, you're squatting and it's like 350 pounds. Hey, so you need help. It's called a donkey dick. So what it is, it's a big circular tube with a hole in the middle that you slide in there. They call it a donkey dick. And the bolt's going like this, and you pick it up and put it back on there to line it up. But you have to release the brakes so the brakes will spin, because it's like disc and stuff. So the dude's like, well, I'm finished. You need some help? You need some help? I said, no, I got it. So we put the brake on. I told him to go finish whatever he was doing. So he was done. He's sitting there staring at me, watching me work. And I'm like, okay, hook up the thermocouple. And the thermocouple is a cannon plug that tells you the temperature of the brakes. There's 4 of them, 2 for each side. So, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3. So the hotter it gets, it shows on the ECAS, which is the computer in the front. And a hydraulic line for the hydraulic fluid for the brakes to work. So he hooked that shit back up, and he was like, all right, I'm gone. So he get up like this, and he puts his hands on the tire to get up off the ground. Well, the tire's jacked up and the brakes released. So guess what happens when you push on tires? They spin.
Move. Yeah.
Yeah, so it pulled the glove and my finger in there, got chopped off and shit.
Did it hurt at first?
Yeah. Not
it
at
immediately
first,
started hurting?
When the air hit that shit and I saw the blood and my fingertip was like, I just took my fingers like this and squeezed them like this really tight and said, call the ambulance, call some goddamn body. Everybody was a bunch of motherfuckers and assholes that night, even my supervisor. I was like, fuck you, I quit. And I was just mad and crying. I was like, ain't no guy gonna want to date me with a missing fingertip. I was going through it. But I got over it.
Were they able to put it back on?
No.
It was too little. So basically the middle one, right?
Yeah, this one, the retarded one. And I had just got my fucking nails done that day. Just got my nails done that day.
Oh, like, goodness. Okay. If you haven't heard of Alani, go ahead to your local Walmart, your local Food Lines, Food Cities, and grab you one of these to try. This one's Hawaiian shaved ice. It tastes just like Hawaiian shaved ice. Very good. See, when the wife told me about these, I didn't believe in these at all. But there was one day that I was super tired from running around with the 3 kids, and I drank one of these, and I perked right up. There's only 10 calories per can with really natural, good ingredients for you. So just go out and get yourself one. It's pretty sweet. So out of all your certificates to do your job, which one was the hardest one? Which one took the most studying?
I would say just the Q&A part. The weight and balance, O&P was easy. You just have to do a weight and balance calculation. That was easy. Safety wire was easy.
With the calculator or without?
You could use a calculator.
Okay. Gotcha. Did you have to retake any test?
Just the weight and balance, because I took instead of doing the original weight of the aircraft, I used the tear weight. So my calculations was right, but the number was wrong. So I had to redo that. But that's the only thing I had to redo. I answered every question right. My O&P guy was called Don Philippone. Shout out to Don Philippone.
Shout out Don.
Don Philippone, yeah. He was like, what you waiting for, girl? Come get your license. And I got my certificate, and then I got my card in the mail. But it wasn't easy. I studied for that shit. Like, school was cake, but them questions are serious,
For sure. Now,
some people use a Jepson book or the Avotech book. I use the Avotech book, and I had the prepware. It's called A&P prepware. So I studied like a motherfucker.
Just for the people in here that are interested in kind of picking up your job, And any other tips for studying that you could put out there for them? That'd be great. Not even just the people in this live, but the people that are going to be on YouTube watching the video. Like any way you can help them pass those tests and those certificate quizzes.
These are the Jepson books. Hold on, Jepson.
All right, let's
see. You
see.
see it?
Bring it a little
then
closer.
This is okay. Hold on. And then there's Aerotech. I use the Aerotech books. But these are the Jepson books. Jepson.
A little bit closer. A little bit closer. All right, there we go. All right, we should be able to get a good shot of that. Did you use any apps or anything like that?
Nah.
Okay, gotcha. No need. Those books really handled it, didn't it?
Books are fucking expensive.
Okay. Now, could you get any deals on them? Like maybe rent them from anywhere or any like pre-owned books? Okay.
I went to a private school.
Mm-hmm.
So everything was, I didn't go to like a regular school where you could go to like a bookstore and shit. I went to a private school. It's called Aviation Institute of Maintenance.
Okay. And about how much are they looking?
How much money does it cost to go to that school? When I finished, my final bill was $36,920.
Okay, that's not too bad. Are you using the? Are you still paying on that right now?
No.
No.
Okay. Done. It's over with.
It's been done and over with. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, heck yeah.
You're also gonna need an FAR book, FAR books and all. I have all that shit. So if you want to see all that, I can go get it and show it to you.
Yeah, for sure.
You have general, you have aviation. General airframe and power plant. General is more like electricity, weight and balance, math, shit like that. And then airframe is structures, standard SAE, standard nuts, bolts, screws, composite material, sheet metal, stuff like that. And then power plant, of course, is your gears and engines and stuff like that.
That's pretty cool that they break it down like that. Makes it a little bit easier.
You gotta take 6 tests. You gotta take this test to exit the school. Then you gotta take the written. They call it the FAA written test. And once you pass your 3 written tests, then you have to sit with the FAA, and then they let you know whether or not you qualify to sit for FAA testing. Once you get past that point, you sit for FAA testing. That shit ain't no joke. That's serious. It's timed and everything. You get through that, then you do your O's and P's and get a schedule to do your O's and P's. But yeah.
O's and P's. What's that?
Which is oral and practical. So it means you have to get in there and show them you know how to safety wire, you know how to rivet, you know how to use.
So it's both written and hands-on. Okay, yeah, that's good to know.
So you know how, like, if you have a tube, if you're running a system of tubes or whatever, or fittings or pipelines, they got to be bent a certain way at a certain angle underneath a certain amount of separation and stuff. You have to know all that stuff.
Okay. So what are some things that your career has afforded you in life?
That $45 tomahawk steak.
You like your steak? Okay. How do you like your steak?
I like it medium well, slightly pink, not red. I just wanted that buttery taste. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I do electric work too, avionics. So
yeah,
you have parallel and series type of electricity. And some things ran in parallel or series. Series is basically a light switch. So you have a point from here to here and a contact on off. That's series. Parallel, how can I describe parallel? It's like Christmas lights. You ever notice how one bulb blows and the rest still work?
Yep.
That's because the electricity is running in parallel to each other. But if they're running in series, if one light blows, the whole thing doesn't work. And
them are the worst Christmas lights ever, y'all, because I had a pair and I couldn't find the bulb that was gone, and yeah, it was pretty much done.
Yeah. That's how you're able to have a dimmer switch on your light in your living room or chandelier, or that's how you're able to do that.
Okay. So can you confirm or deny if this is a myth or not? So, I was reading off true or false cards. They say that an airplane has better air filters than a hospital. Is this true?
I don't know if it's true because I never worked in a hospital, so I don't know what type of. But as far as filters, you mean like breathable filters?
Like in the actual air, like circulation system, like it filters the air better than in hospitals to like avoid, sicknesses and stuff like that.
No, there's ARNIC fans, and they're in the nose of the plane on a CRJ, in the access panel on the left side, under the TRU doors. on each side, right in front of the windows on the nose. It's 2 TRU doors that lift up, and it has equipment, avionics equipment. But below that, there's a little panel with the Arctic fans and the cooling fans to keep stuff filtered and cool. But I wouldn't say it's better than a hospital.
You want to say that? Okay.
I tell you, don't drink the coffee or the tea or the water on the plane.
Don't drink the coffee, tea, or the water, y'all. Stick with that orange juice or some sodas or some liquor or something.
Sometimes they defer potable water, but if you're on a flight that's more than 2 hours or so, like it has to be fixed. Like you're not going to pay for a ticket to take a flight and you can't get coffee or you can't use the bathroom. So, but sometimes you have to do chloroform tests on the bacteria in the water. Sometimes it passes, sometimes it don't. So the potable water comes from the ground that's brought over in tanks on little carts and shit. So sometimes they don't pass. So
see, that's
it's okay to drink it's okay to drink the water, but the water got to be hot. It got to be ran through the bone. It got to be hot. Like, but the potable water and the wastewater is two separate systems. They don't get nowhere near each other. So that's not why. It's not because of fecal matter or nothing like that. It's just because sometimes bacteria just gets in anything. Like you use a plastic water bottle working at the gym all the time and don't really clean it out, you're gonna get bacteria. Same thing.
Y'all nasty for that shit. Y'all need to make sure y'all wash your freaking water cups. Just because it's water doesn't mean that it's clean. I want to give my appreciation to Abracadabra for showing up and not flaking out like the rest, and for being here and giving us her time, because time is the most valuable thing that we have in this life. It's more valuable than money itself. So appreciate you so much for being on. Now, what's your IG?
International 11722.
International
11722.
11722. Y'all get that? Yep. Make sure y'all go follow her on the IG. Get her followers up. Check out her content. If you stayed and watched the whole video, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. It's not only special to me, but it's also special to Abracadabra. She took the time out of her day, which time is the most valuable thing we have on earth, to come and bless you with the knowledge that she dropped on you. So just make sure, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Make sure you like this video, guys, so it gets out there in the algorithm and it's not just wasted content. And make sure you share this video and hit that bell for future notifications. I will see y'all on the next one. Thank you so much. Bye.